Hi there, my name is Eric Heater. I'm the host of the Heater Dynasty podcast, and I just want to say thank you for downloading my 2025 personal NFL player projections template. This is a great tool that I put a lot of work into, and I think it'll help you regardless of where you are in your fantasy football journey, whether you are starting out for the very first time or you're a seasoned veteran who's done this for a long time. It helps you kind of rethink your process and how you prepare for your fantasy drafts. And I enjoy it because it helps me get away from some of the expert analysis and formulate opinions on players on my own, and maybe give you a little bit of a unique perspective or edge over the rest of your competition. So let's jump into the tutorial and we'll walk through how this tool works. So from the very beginning, you'll notice that there is this yellow warning bar right across the top. You will want to allow access for this tool. What this warning is for is whether or not you want it to scrape the data necessary to populate all the rosters for you. So the answer is yes. If you don't do that, then this tool is kind of useless and you'll be sorely disappointed with your purchase. But once you do that, you'll notice that all the players will start to populate. They will automatically update with the players' rosters for the NFL. So it's a nice little feature. You're not going to have to do anything. You just set it and you forget it. It'll stay that way all season long. And if a player gets dropped or picked up or anything like that, it'll automatically change it for you. So you don't have to go in and manually make edits when roster cuts happen in preseason or whatever. So let me show you first what it looks like without that so that you know what I'm talking about. So you'll see in here there's literally 0 players. This is the draft day cheat sheet that you get. This will populate with all of your projections and then organize everybody for you. But right now, you don't see anything. It's all blank. As soon as we push allow access, it'll probably take a couple seconds while it's connecting, but you'll start to see names populating, and then you'll know that it's working. So now you just got to look at me until there we go. Awesome. So now all those names are in there. As you can see, there's no actual points assigned yet. Technically, there's some negative points for some, but this is not saying that Michael Penix is going to be your QB1. This is before you put any data in there. So this will keep updating as you go. But let's go back to league settings. So this is the chance for you to be able to make it for whatever format you want it to be. It's going to work for redraft. It's going to work for Dynasty. It's going to work for best ball, whatever. And whatever scoring format you have, you can update it. So right now I have it for more of a standard league. I have it as 4-point passing touchdowns, 25 passing yards per point, that kind of stuff. PPR, full PPR, it's 1 reception. But you can edit any of this by simply just coming in here. If it was a half PPR league, you put 0.5, etc. You obviously you can do this for multiple leagues too. If you wanted to, you could download this tool, not download. You can make extra copies of it. Just name them different things, and then you'll be able to have that data. What I suggest is put in all your player data first, and then make all the separate ones so you don't have to enter player data all those different times. But if you wait until the very end, then you make some copies, it'll have all that data in there, and you'll be able to see the difference whether a player does better with a half-point PPR or full-point PPR, etc. But yeah, so this is more of a key here for the whole document. The green means anytime you see a green box, you're going to have to put something in there in order to populate the data properly, whereas yellow is an optional box. This is if you wanted to override some of the formulas that you see. If it tells you this is how many interceptions you think a player is going to have, and you're like, that seems high, or there's a different factor that you want to figure in, that whatever, you can override it. That's what the yellow is for. Whereas white and blue, these are boxes that you don't want to touch because that's where the formulas and the algorithms are living. And if you edit those, then it's going to mess up many other factors within the whole document, and you just don't want to do that. So let's go pick a team, and we'll start. We'll use them as a guinea pig to kind of figure out how this all works. I think we should let's go with the Chargers, because I know that they drafted a couple rookies that'll play key roles this year, and that'll be able to show us a little bit more data that way. But you come in here, you look at the instructions. It says determine first total passing and rushing projections for team based on historical team trends. So the very first thing you do, you're going to fill out these boxes right here. Right above, you'll see I've got the last 4 years of historical data for you. So you're basically trying to find the average of the passing attempts and the rushing attempts. We know that with the Chargers, Harbaugh was here for the first time last year. So I'm just going to stick to very similar numbers to what they're doing. Maybe give them a little extra passing, because I think they started to trust Justin Herbert a little bit more at the end of the year. So for passing attempts, I'm going to start it off at 525. Once again, I tend to just put in real basic numbers just to get the data going. And then I can come back and fine tune it after I've filled out all the teams. Because you might see your draft day cheat sheet and want to make some adjustments just because it doesn't feel right or whatever. You can help challenge your thinking that way. But since we bumped up the passing attempts, I'm going to bump down the rushing a little bit. So we'll say 450 for rushing. All right, so then the next thing we'll do, delegate carry split for all skilled positions. You want to make sure the total equals 100%, because that means that all of these passing attempts and rushing attempts then will be factored in. If you leave blanks there, you're not assigning those points, and you're not being true to the number that you put up there. So let's start with Justin Herbert. When you see here, these average carry split, that is taking their historical data and just giving you an average. So you'll notice there are some blanks in here. Those are either rookies or players that didn't have any historical data in there. So as you can see, I chose this team on purpose because there's a bunch of rookies in here that they've drafted to boost their offense. So starting with this, just since it's a tutorial, I'm going to keep it real simple. I'm going to keep the same thing that's going on here. I'm going to say 14%. Now, Taylor Heineke, he's the backup quarterback, but he's played before as a starting for different seasons, so I think that's why it's 6.8%. I'm not going to give him that much. He's not going to get that much playing time. I'm going to say like 2%, because we assume if he's in there, it means Herbert's out because he's hurt, or they're blowing a team out or something. Omarion Hampton, that's the rookie that they just drafted. And I think at some point in the season he's going to take over as RB1, but he's probably not starting out the gate that way, since they also got Najee Harris in the offseason. So, but I think let's say he does 35%. Najee, we're going to give him 60.5%, but that was with the Steelers. He's not going to be the main bell cow here. He's got a couple other people in place, so let's bump him down to 45%. Once again, you can adjust these later on if they don't feel right. But just as placeholders, 3% here. So you see, so all I got is 1% left. So maybe I got a little crazy. Let's bump this down 1%. Let's go 13%, 2%. You'll notice Darius Davis has 2.9% average carry split. It's because they use him as a gadget player. So let's assume they're going to do something similar this year. That's 3% right there. And then one more percent. Okay, fine. Herbert, you get your 14%. There we go. We hit 0%. Cool. All right, so now let's switch over to the receiving stats. So we'll start with Omarion Hampton. One thing I wanted to say about the rookies as well, I know that we already kind of talked about why they're blank. There's no historical data there. But down below, when we get to a little bit more of the fine-tuning of each individual player, I did at least put in averages for the rookies. So since they don't have any historical data, they will have average historical data for all rookies. So that way they can at least have a starting point for you. That way, someone like Omarion Hampton, if you think he's a elite prospect, you're gonna want to give him a higher percentage than what's there because you think he's going to be above average, or if you think he's just going to be average, you can kind of stick with what's there, or below average, you can go underneath that. Once again, you're going to want to fine tune it. You're going to want to go back through later on with a fine tooth comb and fix little things here and there. But for the very first time through, just go surface level, keep it simple. So Omarion Hampton for receiving stats, we're going to assume he's going to get some dump offs and stuff like that. So let's say 6%. Najee at 10.3%. Once again, that was for the Steelers. Whole different system. We don't expect as much playing time. Let's say 4%. I want to give each running back at least something, just because if they're in the game at all, they're going to get some dump offs here and there, but doesn't have to be much. Kamani Valdal, he might not even make the team, but if that's at least a placeholder, when the rosters auto-populate and switch, you're going to see a different name there, but that 1% is still going to sit there. So think of it as kind of a placeholder for the RB4 more than the specific player that's listed there. Mike Williams, he's getting old. He just came back to the team. There is some familiarity with Herbert, but I have a feeling he's going to be either wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4 for this team. So let's give him, let's say, 7%. Trey Harris, the new rookie that they just drafted, he's hopefully going to be their 1A or their 1B to Ladd McConkey, but it might take some time to develop. So conservatively, let's give him 12%. Ladd, I think, is still going to have a huge year. Let's give him the 22% from last year. Whereas Quentin Johnson, I think, is going to take a step back because of the new additions of, well, the return of Mike Williams and then the new addition of Trey Harris. And, yeah. So let's give him, let's say 8%, whatever. Once again, I don't know that this guy's going to make the field, but at least it'll be a placeholder for somebody. So let's do like 3%. Stick with 3% for Darius Davis. Will Dissly, I think he was injured a lot last year, so I feel like 5.2% is kind of low. So let's go above that. 8%. Tyler Conklin, new team. We'll see how they adapt. Maybe go down from that number, but still more than Dissly. This is their new tight end. So we'll say, well, we got 13% left, so let's just throw in some numbers here. I got 6% more. Who do I want to boost? Maybe that's a little conservative for the running back, so we'll go 10% if he's considered the starter and 6%. Boom. So now we're at 0% for both of these. Perfect. We're going to go on to step number 3. Oh, wait, we just did that. Delegate target share for all players. So step number 4. If there's no historical data, NFL data for a player, use the optional manual override menu. So that's talking about this data down below. So when you get down here, you're going to see each player has their own stat line. The blue boxes, remember, and the white boxes, we're not changing that data. That's being formulated based on averages and projections based on the data you entered above. However, if you don't like these numbers, for instance, it says Justin Herbert's playing 16 games. He's only missed a game for one season, so that's taking that average. If you think it's going to be a season where he doesn't miss any games, you can go in here and change that with this option. This will overwrite it. So I would write 17 here. You'll see it automatically puts it at 17. I'm going to leave it at 16 just because I want you to be able to see how Taylor Heineke gets stats as well. Because if you put 17 there, it takes away his stats because it's assuming that it's just Herbert. And I don't feel like that's completely accurate. If they're blowing out a team at the end of the game, Heineke comes in for a couple series, something like that, he's going to get something. So let's put 16 for now. I rarely will put a quarterback at 17% unless they're really someone that's just always in there, no matter what. Then, okay, so interceptions. This is average 9 over his last years. Once again, you see the historical data down here. Let's say later on you want to streamline it. I put little tabs in here. It's just a little something you can hide it so that you can get all the data a little bit closer. You don't have to worry about it. But you open them up. This gives you that one player's specific data. So that's what you're basing it off of. So I just kind of give a cursory glance to see what I'm thinking here. Like these last couple of years, his interceptions have gone down. It was really just his rookie year, and the next season he was throwing a lot more. It's a more conservative passing offense under Harbaugh. So I think 9 interceptions is a little high. We're going to drop that. So this is where you can edit that as well. So let's just say 5. When you do that, you'll notice that his total points will change. So, because it's not calculating those negative points anymore. Same with fumbles lost. This is his data from last year, so we're going to leave that the same. Yeah, anyway, we don't have to get into the nitty-gritty too much here. Another tab, just for your own benefit, I made the red zone data. You can either get rid of it, or you can minimize it, or you can expand it. Not everybody's going to want to look at that, but I wanted that information in there just in case you wanted it. Cool. So we don't really need to do anything for Heineke. It's already put in there. Once again, if this was a team where there was more of a quarterback controversy, you're not sure who's going to start. Maybe we're talking about the Jets, and yes, they got Justin Fields, but maybe you think Tyrod Taylor, or they get somebody else in there at some point, is going to play some games. Maybe you'd split that differently. Justin Herbert's the obvious starter here, so outside of injury, he's not going to leave the field. So let's get on the running backs. All right, this is why I chose the Chargers, because I wanted to show you what it would look like for rookies. So obviously he's got no historical data. Nothing's in here. So I have this little thing here to remind you, hey, you got to put something in for him, because otherwise it's going to say he has 0 points. Because if it doesn't calculate the number of games played, he's not going to calculate these totals that you did up above, the carry split. So for him, he's a rookie. I don't know. You can guess whatever you want it to be. Maybe he doesn't start every game. Maybe he doesn't play consistently. Let's just be conservative. Let's say 12 games for him. Once we put that in, then all the rest of it starts to populate. And fumbles lost, you're going to have to enter it for a rookie because there's no information there, so it automatically averages it to 0. He's a rookie. Maybe he doesn't fumble a lot. I would just say, give him 3 fumbles, but he only loses 2 of them. All right, just a starting place. So one thing that's interesting, you'll notice he automatically is these 2 at the top, RB1 and RB2. That's just because you haven't put any other team data in there. As you do more teams, these will get much more realistic, and you'll have a better sense of where you're putting them in your overall metrics. So then we get down to Najee. He played all 17 games. He's never missed a game. Cool. Awesome. So we'll leave that alone. I'm just going to keep going so that you, this tutorial isn't forever long. But Hassan Haskins is a player who has a little bit more data. He's listed as the RB3 right now. Once again, no other team data is in there. You know that's not going to be accurate. Cool. Let's get down to the wide receivers. Nothing really changes for this either. Trey Harris, another rookie, so we need to put information in for him. Let's give him 12 games. That'll put some data in there. Once again, let's do the fumbles for him. He's it's less likely to fumble as a wide receiver. Still possible. So we'll say 1 and 0. Ladd McConkey. For instance, Ladd McConkey, he had 2 fumbles last year, but he didn't lose any of them. Depending on your league settings, though, you might still lose points for fumbles, so you want to put them in there, even if they get recovered. Quentin Johnson. Down here, another rookie, so we're going to put in, I don't think this player is going to play much, so we'll say 6 games. Get down to the tight ends. All this information kind of stays the same. Another rookie. You just want to make sure all that info's in there. We'll give him 8 and 8. So now you've got all the data entered for this one team. You're going to come back to your draft day cheat sheet, and you'll see those teams are right at the top because that's what's been entered. So you're projecting Justin Herbert's going to make 223 points at least with this scoring format, a standard format. Najee Harris and Marion Hampton are right there at the top. As you put in more teams, this will get much more clean. But yeah, so this is just kind of an example of how you can make your own projections, and you'll be able to see who are the players that you are evaluating above other people in the field. I like to put it all together first before I look at any expert opinions, and then I like to compare them and see how far off I am. Obviously, if something's like really far off, that tells you maybe you didn't consider a different factor, and you can challenge your thinking with that. But other times it tells you like, hey, I'm higher on this person than the field. I'm higher than most people are on this, and you'll want to know why. But if it's for good reasons and you have some educated guesses behind it, well, maybe that's someone that you want to shoot your shot on. That's someone that you can be trading for if you're in a Dynasty league, or someone that you're going to want to target maybe a round or two earlier in a redraft league, or best ball for that matter. So yeah, I find this to be a helpful tool. I hope it's helpful to you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I love helping people out, and I also love suggestions if there's something that isn't working properly or whatever. I will gladly get back to you and we can fix it. But yeah, thank you so much, and I wish you the best this year. All right, until later.